Over 2 millennia have passed since the death of Socrates, the classical Greek philosopher who famously declared, "The unexamined life is not worth living." Despite the vast gulf in time, culture, and technology between ancient Athens and the 21st century, Socrates remains one of the most relevant figures in the modern intellectual and ethical landscape. His ideas and methods continue to influence education, politics, ethics, and the pursuit of truth. But what is it about this ancient thinker that endures so powerfully today? This article explores the enduring relevance of Socrates by examining his philosophical contributions, the implications of his methods in contemporary life, and the moral courage he embodied. The historical Socrates, a life of questions. Socrates lived during political turbulence in Athens. He left no writings of his own. Everything we know about him comes from the accounts of his students, most notably Plato and Xenophon, and from Aristophanes, a comic playwright who satirized him. Unlike other philosophers of his time who might have concerned themselves with metaphysics or cosmology, Socrates focused almost exclusively on ethics and how one ought to live. His method was famously dialogical. Rather than deliver lectures or assert conclusions, Socrates relentlessly and often frustratingly asked questions. His Socratic method was not merely a pedagogical tool but a way of life, an expression of the belief that individuals could uncover truth and attain virtue through reasoned dialogue and critical self-examination. The Socratic method in modern education. One of the clearest ways in which Socrates continues to shape the modern world is through his method of inquiry, which forms the foundation of critical thinking and democratic education. In classrooms from law schools to elementary schools, the Socratic method cultivates analytical skills, fosters open dialogue, and challenges assumptions. The importance of questioning prevailing narratives cannot be overstated in an era of rapid information exchange, echo chambers, and misinformation. Socratic questioning, asking what people believe and why they believe it, is more vital than ever. The method encourages learners to think independently, articulate reasoning, and accept uncertainty. These are crucial skills in a world where definitive answers are often elusive and dogmatic thinking can be dangerous. Moreover, Socratic dialogue promotes humility. Demonstrating that even the wisest people can be wrong teaches that wisdom begins with acknowledging one's own ignorance. This lesson is vital today, as confidence often substitutes for knowledge in public discourse. Socrates and moral responsibility. Socrates' life was a testament to moral integrity. When faced with the death penalty for allegedly corrupting the youth and impiety, Socrates refused to compromise his principles. He could have escaped execution or recanted his views to save his life, but he chose to accept the sentence, insisting that it was more important to remain just than to live. In a world where moral compromise is common and political, and corporate leaders frequently choose expediency over ethics, Socrates' example offers a powerful counternarrative. He shows us that a life of principle may be difficult, even fatal, but it is ultimately more meaningful. Modern whistleblowers, human rights activists, and dissidents worldwide often draw inspiration from Socratic courage. They echo his belief that ethical conduct should not be contingent on popularity, convenience, or personal safety. His legacy thus continues to inform debates about civil disobedience, conscience, and the responsibilities of citizenship. Socratic ignorance in the age of information. Socrates famously claimed, "I know that I know nothing." This paradoxical statement is not an admission of defeat but a recognition of the limits of human knowledge. In an age flooded with data and opinion, the Socratic attitude of intellectual humility is more important than ever. The digital era has made knowledge more accessible than ever in human history. Yet, access to information does not guarantee wisdom. The proliferation of content has blurred the line between expertise and speculation, fact and opinion. Socrates' emphasis on critical reflection, dialogical reasoning, and the humility to question one's beliefs provides a necessary antidote to the arrogance and superficiality that often characterize online discourse. Socratic ignorance encourages us to be cautious with certainty, particularly in complex domains like climate science, economics, or geopolitics. Rather than hastily forming judgments, the Socratic thinker seeks to understand the underlying issues, engage with diverse perspectives, and be open to revision. Socrates and democratic values. Socrates' relationship with democracy was complex. He was critical of Athenian democracy, which he believed often prioritized popularity over wisdom. Nonetheless, his philosophical legacy is deeply aligned with democratic ideals such as freedom of speech, rational debate, and the right to question authority. In modern liberal democracies, the health of public discourse is often seen as a measure of societal well-being. Socratic dialogue is essential to this process. It insists that citizens should not be passive recipients of information but active participants in the search for truth and justice. At the same time, Socrates reminds us that democracy without education and critical thinking can degenerate into mob rule. His execution, decided by a democratic vote, illustrates the dangers of public opinion unchecked by reason. Thus, his life serves as a defense of democratic values and a cautionary tale about their vulnerabilities. The relevance of Socratic ethics. Central to Socrates' philosophy was the belief that virtue is the highest good and that the soul's health is more important than material success. In contrast to the consumerist ethos that dominates much of modern life, Socratic ethics encourages us to prioritize moral character, self-awareness, and the pursuit of truth. This ethical framework is particularly resonant in today's climate of existential anxiety. As people grapple with climate change, social inequality, and mental health issues, Socratic questions about the nature of a good life remain profoundly relevant. What does it mean to live well? How should we treat one another? What obligations do we have to society? Socrates invites us to engage with these questions not as abstract puzzles but as urgent matters that shape our daily lives. His insistence on the importance of virtue over wealth, fame, or power stands as a powerful counterpoint to modern success metrics. Socrates and the inner life. Perhaps Socrates' most enduring legacy is his focus on the inner life. While many ancient figures sought to understand the external world, stars, elements, and natural phenomena, Socrates turned inward, asking how we might live with greater integrity, self-knowledge, and purpose. With its relentless pace and external distractions, modern life often pulls us away from introspection. Socratic practice calls us back to ourselves. It asks us to reflect on our motivations, examine our beliefs, and align our actions with our values. Mindfulness, therapy, and the growing interest in Stoicism echo Socratic themes. The idea that one can and should examine one's life has taken on new urgency in a time of rapid social and technological change. Socrates reminds us that self-knowledge is not a luxury but a necessity for meaningful living. Socrates in the digital age. In today's digital landscape, where algorithms curate what we see, and like-minded communities reinforce our biases, Socratic dialogue can serve as a disruptive force for good. It encourages us to step outside our comfort zones and engage with challenging ideas. Social media platforms, while democratizing expression, have also accelerated tribalism and misinformation. Socratic principles, open inquiry, respectful disagreement, and a commitment to truth can restore depth to public discourse. Moreover, AI and technology are raising new ethical questions that Socratic thinking is well suited to address. What does it mean to be human in an age of machines? Can algorithms make moral decisions? How should societies balance innovation with ethical responsibility? While Socrates could not have envisioned these specific issues, his method of questioning remains an ideal tool for navigating them. The eternal questioner. Socrates matters today not because he provided definitive answers but because he showed us how to ask the right questions. His legacy is not a set of doctrines but a way of thinking, a commitment to reason, dialogue, and moral courage. He challenges us not to accept easy answers, to interrogate our assumptions, and to live authentically. In a world marked by complexity, conflict, and rapid change, the Socratic ethos provides a timeless compass. It urges us to examine not only our own lives but also the values of our societies. It reminds us that truth is often elusive, but the pursuit of it is noble and necessary. Perhaps most importantly, it teaches us that wisdom begins with a recognition of our own limitations. Socrates was executed for asking too many questions. Today, when the world is desperate for clear answers, his legacy reminds us that asking the right questions is still one of the most radical, necessary, and transformative acts we can undertake.